Hello, fellow empowerment seekers, and welcome to another Infinity Experience interview. Today we are so blessed to have with us Christine Chin Miura. Hello, Christine. Thank you for being with us today, and especially thank you for being willing to share your personal Infinity experience.
Candace, thanks for having me today. I'm really excited about being here.
Fabulous. So without further ado, let's just really get right into it. So when did this opening and awareness begin for you, and how?
I think my first memory was when I was 6 years old, and my dad had recently passed, and it was Christmas time. Santa Claus came and didn't bring me a present. And I had 32 first cousins, and I didn't get a present. And I remember just being really sad. Driving home, seeing the full moon, looking up at the moon, saying, God, and I didn't really even know who God was at the time, it's got to be better than this. And I remember hearing God saying, it is. So, yeah. That's when I sort of knew there was something bigger. But
something more expansive than just you and your immediate, right. So then what happened?
So then when I was about 8 years old, it was Christmas time again, and I was in the family room of my aunt's house, and there were lots of cousins around, and all of a sudden all these flash bulbs started going off. Remember the Kodak flash bulbs?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they started going off, and I'm like, you guys, do you see that? Do you see that? And they were like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, don't you see the flash bulbs? And they're like, no, Christine, you are weird. You're weird. And I remember thinking, no, I see them. And then each subsequent holiday, I wouldn't see them until, probably like 12 or 13. I never saw them again. And then I met a gentleman at 23 who said, do you ever remember flash bulbs going off? And I said, yes. And that was the first time I knew. He said, that's how you know that you can see, you're connected to spirit on the other side.
Right.
And so that was like an aha moment for me.
Another moment of expanded sense of more being there, exactly.
Right. And I feel like I've always sort of had that about me. Like it always seems like I have a sense of knowing of the situation, or maybe I'm listening to someone and I just have this understanding of them and a deep sense of listening, and I would always give feedback around that, and it would be right. And so that's sort of how I grew into myself in my teens and into my early 20s.
And so then what was the next pivotal experience? Because we know I've spoken with you, and I know that your Infinity experience is very incremental. It's building. So then what happened?
Well, I met you at the age of 23, and you were the first person that I had a conversation with where it was like, yeah, this is normal. And I thought, okay, this is normal, I don't have to hide from this anymore. I don't have to pretend like I'm not hearing things or I'm not seeing things.
Right.
So you really gave me access to my spiritual side. Yeah.
Yay. So then let's continue on, because I know there's much more. So then what happened?
Okay, so at the age of 27, 28, I split up. Yeah, at 27 is your Saturn return. So I remember sort of transitioning out of who I was as a youngster and becoming a woman, more into myself, more full of myself in the sense of expression. And I had a really long breakup with a gentleman I'd been in a relationship with. And this one night I was just suffering, just hurting so much and crying and asking God for help. And Paramahansa Yogananda is my spiritual master, and he had appeared. And he said, I've been waiting for you all this time. And I was in this little bedroom, and he appeared by the bookcase. And I was sort of shocked. And I had this book in my house, Autobiography of a Yogi, forever. I never read it. So I picked it up and read it from cover to cover, and the next thing I know, there was a deep sense of understanding and a bigger awareness about universe, about metaphysics, about living, and trusting. So that's been sort of the backbone of my spiritual steps.
And now, how did that, after you had that experience and had that awakening, through Paramahansa Yogananda, how did that shift your path? What did your focus change? Did you begin to seek different? I mean, what happened after that?
Well, this one time when he came, there was another time subsequently after, and I was sort of sad. I was really in my abandonment because that's been my lesson in my life, is to heal my abandonment. And I drove to the coast and I went to my favorite beach, and Yogananda said, glad you're here. And I started to meditate, and my dad had come. My dad died when I was 6, and his spiritual form came, and he started to explain to me the relationship he had with my mom, and why he left, and what my journey was. And I remember after that visit feeling like, gosh, okay, I get it. There's a sense of peace.
Yeah.
So then after that, I went and searched my mom. Because in Ayurveda, you are 7 generations on both sides, the father, the mother side, and you are the culmination of those 14 people. And I had this deep sense of woundedness. I didn't know where it came from. And so I interviewed my mother, and I asked her about her life, about my grandmother's life, about how she got here. And once I understood that story, that awareness, it broke. And when it broke, it sort of was like the magic spell had been lifted. And shortly thereafter, I met my husband, who I was very blessed with marrying me and having a family with.
Right. So let's talk about that, because I know that was another part of your journey.
Right.
Important part of your journey.
So, let's see. I've lost somebody in my life every decade of my life, from the age of 6 to the age of 43. My dad at 6, 19, my best friend, 23, my grandmother, 32, my mother, my father-in-law at 35, and my husband at 43. And so it's always been sort of a conversation for me that death is just a part of life. It's how it's the ebb and flow of living. And I think that's why I embrace my life as much as I do, because you only get today. Right. And I try not to live too far in the future, because you just never know what's going to happen. So it's taught me to be appreciative
and present.
Yes, and to acknowledge people in my life, and really not leave with harsh words someplace else.
Good.
And to embrace the joy of living, because in my husband's case, we had this just amazing, fabulous life. And one day he came home with pancreatic cancer, and he was gone 5.5 months later.
Wow.
And in that moment, I learned how to slow my life down. Because we're so future-paced in the way that we live with technology. Right. And I remember, I was having to bring the kids someplace or do something and go somewhere. And I remember him saying, that doesn't matter anymore. And the days that we spent together were magical, because we enjoyed the moment, the minute, the half hour, the sleeping on the hammock, just the simple things. Right. And so now I take that and I really appreciate that. And I try not to future pace myself too much, even though life wants me to do that. I really know that's a man-made construct. Right. So, yeah. So in the point of Bruce passing, I found out he would die, and I came home and I was distraught and I was crying and I was mad and said, why me, God? Why am I staying here? And why is it he's staying and I could go? Because that was our deal. I was going to go first, so I didn't have to suffer. And I remember God saying to me, because, Christine, you are the full expression of life, and your children need you, and Bruce will be the example, and you will be his messenger. And really, I've been living that edict for the last 5.5 years. I've told this story to so many people, and it has moved them to a place of appreciation and acknowledgement, and it brings me to a place of service.
Good. Wow.
Yeah. So that's what brings me to this conversation today, knowing that God has always led me, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm just blind faith that the universe is going to take care of me, and people magically appear. that I have no connection to, and suddenly there's a little angel in my life, and I'm taking that next adventure.
Speaking of the next adventure, tell us about your website just a little bit.
Oh, griefchangedme.com.
Right.
That was given directly to me from Source. Who would have thought it was available? But I guess he knew. And in that website, we talk about sort of about holding the space for people as they're going through a transition. The ones that are left behind. One of the things that I experienced was people wanting to hurry me up to get through my grief. What was I going to do next? And what I realized out of this process is that we just need space and time for our souls to heal.
Right.
And we also need somebody to speak to us in a way that we realize we have choice and that we're not a victim and that death is actually a part of living. And it's understanding what that distinction is. And I feel like, that is my role, is to help people see the choices that they have inside the space of loss.
Fantastic. It's beautiful. In closing, Christine, is there something in particular you would like to share with everyone that is an awareness that you've garnered from your own personal experiences and your expansion of self?
Well, I think out of this process, I've learned to serve. I learned to serve God. I learned to serve my community, my children's schools. That is really where my heart sings, is to be able to provide service to others, either through business or through action. And it's about holding abundance and integrity in the process of living. And knowing that when I help someone else, I'm helping myself and my kids and my life be bigger than if I was closed down, feeling a victim and just sort of stepping out of it. So that's really been the gift, is to step up and to serve.
And to embrace service, right. Well, thank you so much, Christine, for being willing to share with everyone your own personal awakening infinity experience. And everyone, you can go visit her website if it calls to you, griefchangedme.com. Until we have our next interview, thank you for being part of the shift. Namaste.
Namaste. Thanks, Candace.